Number 10. The Devil Made Me Do It. In 1981, 19-year-old Arne Johnson sparked controversy far and wide for a crime he wasn't behind, or so we think. While arguing with Alan Bono over Johnson's girlfriend, Arne stabbed Bono, resulting in the man's death. When police arrived, Arne claimed that the devil made him do it. When the words "the devil made me do it" came from his mouth, it sent the world into controversy. Apparently, Arne was possessed by a demon that had not been vanquished by the Warrens at all. Ed and Lorraine had worked with his family a year prior when Arne's girlfriend's brother David was possessed by not one, not two, but 43 demons. In order to save him, Arne commanded the demons to enter him instead, so when his dark deed finally occurred, Ed and Lorraine flew to his defense. The Warrens stated that at the time of the exorcism, and I quote, "Johnson leapt up and cried to the demon, 'Come into me, I'll fight you, come into me.' But from that time on, he was possessed." The Paranormal Society was split in half, but Johnson's team was committed. The court had defended acts of God in the past, like a lightning strike to a tree hits a car, you know what I mean? And now it was time to defend accounts of the devil. But despite what you believe, it wasn't enough, and Johnson received a maximum sentence but was released after good behavior just 4 years later. But still, the fact that these demons were never truly vanquished left the Warrens terrified that this might be the case elsewhere. In our number 9 spot today we have Burstook. Burstook is a Wendish evil god of the forest and is known for his trickery. He is often described as being half man and half goat, but there are some sources which claim he is actually all shadow and doesn't even have a human form at all and instead is more a spirit of the woods. So here's what dark thing he's got going on. He likes to trick wanderers of the forest into getting lost. Yep, literally just a full-on nightmare. He hangs out in the dark depths of the forest waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Once a wanderer stumbles across his path, he'll play tricks where he changes the path in the woods, or he'll whisper in their ears to frighten them, and he'll lay branches in their way so that they'll trip and fall, and he does this all simply because he just enjoys the suffering of others. Sounds pretty evil to me. In our number 8 spot today we have Beelzebub. Beelzebub is a former seraph who turned into a high-ranking demon. He is one of the princes of hell and also oversees the Order of the Fly. He, Satan, and Lucifer form the triarchy of hell, which makes him one of the supreme monarchs of the underworld. As a seraphim, he was under the archangel Gabriel, but he was one of the very first angels to fall. He is often confused with Satan, and while the two names can technically be interchanged, they're two separate entities, and in some writings, they even disagree at times. He is associated with pride and gluttony, and he has also been held responsible for demonic possessions throughout the years. Unfortunately, flies are a very important thing for him, as it is said that he can take the form of flies. Now his main job is to rule over the fallen angels as well as the demons that are originally from hell. In our number 7 spot today we have Lilith. Lilith is a demon goddess who appears a lot in mythology. Her dark origins start in Sumerian and Babylonian demonology, and she is the picture of the beautiful maiden with a dark spirit. Legend says once she chose a lover, she would never let him go and would give nothing in return. Some people believe that Lilith was actually the first wife of Adam and that the two were created equal, but Adam didn't like that she wasn't obedient to him, so he abandoned her, and this is when God made Eve. This is what is rumored to have turned Lilith into a snake, which then tempted Eve into the apple. After Adam and Eve were then banished from the Garden of Eden, Lilith turned into a demon goddess and vowed to get her revenge on all men. In our number 6 spot today we have Bale. Bale is ranked as the first of the Ars Goetia, which I had to look up because I am not really familiar with a lot of demons and demonology works. If you're like me and aren't exactly up to date on this, as explained by the demonicparadisefandom.com, quote, "The Ars Goetia, also known as the 72 Pillars, is a group comprised of 72 demons with exemplary strength and their own legions. They are listed in the grimoire Lesser Key of Solomon." Okay. Cool. So Bale is the first on that list, and he is the principal king of hell. It is said that he governs somewhere from 66 to 250 legions of demons and spirits, so
He's clearly a workaholic. In grimoire tradition, it is said that Bale appears in the form of a man, a cat, a toad, or different combinations of those, with the appearance of a king or soldier, but with the heads of these creatures, and on a set of spider legs. So I'm just saying, the guy's not easy to miss. I feel like it's pretty clear. In our number 5 spot today we have Asmodius. Asmodius is the king of demon and earthly spirits and is referred to as one of the 7 princes of hell. He also represents one of the 7 deadly sins, lust. Before becoming a demon in his former life, he was an angel who was known as Asmodel, the angel of April and patience who rules the zodiac sign Taurus. But of course, we are here to talk about his demon form, which is said to appear either as a ruthless, brutal monster or as a kind of mischievous demon that is playful and quick thinking. Honestly, I'm not sure which form would be worse to encounter. The monster would be scary, but a little annoying demon would also be the worst. For the most terrifying exit I've ever heard of, it is said that Asmodius will cut himself into pieces and immediately after disappear. In our number 4 spot today we have Azazel. Azazel is one of the chief governors of the Grigori, which is a group of fallen angels who married female mortals, which then produced the Nephilim, which are these scary giant creatures that ate mortals. In the beginning, Azazel started as an eater of sins, but the more sins he consumed, the hungrier he became, and this led to him not being satiated by the sins he was receiving. The reason he was cast from heaven is because he taught men how to make swords, knives, shields, and breastplates, which then led to humans being corrupted and thinking that they were invincible. It is said that the humans went so far that they were planning to raid heaven, and this is when God told Raphael to bind Azazel's hands and feet, open up a hole in the desert, and toss him in, casting him into darkness. This worked, and for a long time Azazel remained in prison. It was so bad that the jagged rocks near him tore his physical body away, and this left him as a mass of darkness covered in mouths and eyes. Later freed by Lucifer, he went on to join the demons in hell. In our number 3 spot today we have Aamon. It's weird, she used to work here. different Aamon. Aamon is the great Marquis of Hell, and he is the 7th of the demons in the Ars Goetia. It is said that he is in charge of governing 40 different legions of demons, but his favorite thing to do with humans is making them fall in love with each other. He is also known to settle debates, and you might be sitting there thinking that this guy actually sounds pretty cool and nice, but despite all of these cool and nice things he enjoys, he is anything but nice. Just like he can make people fall in love, he can also do the exact opposite as well. He can cause people to turn against each other and can even will someone to harm the innocent, which is just terrifying. To make that thought slightly less horrifying, it is said that he usually doesn't do this for no reason, and it tends to only happen when he is attacked or if someone is standing in his way of completing a mission. Still not good, but I suppose that's better than just random acts of violence. It is said that Aamon appears as a wolf with a snake's tail and that he possesses the ability to breathe fire. Or he might appear as a man with dog teeth who is inside of a raven. I don't know. Ask him about that, not me. In our number 2 spot today we have Hades. We are not talking about the Unreal game, instead we are talking about the dad that you gotta fight in it. Hades is the king of the underworld and the god of the dead, and I'm not sure if it gets any darker than that. It was believed that just by speaking his name he would have the power to bring you to the underworld, so people tried to avoid his name like it was Voldemort. Hades was sure to never let any souls that entered the underworld escape, and he would punish anyone who tried, or anyone who tried to save someone in the underworld. One of his darkest myths is in reference to the time he kidnapped Persephone. He opened up the earth where she was picking flowers and he kept her in the underworld. Persephone's mother, Demeter, was of course really unhappy about this and did everything she could to get her back. Hades finally agreed to let her go, but of course there's always a twist with these guys. He gives her a pomegranate seed as a parting gift, which she eats. Little does she know, if you eat food from the underworld, it binds you to it. So now she is bound to Hades, and basically the story ends off with her being allowed to live a few months of the year on Earth, but the rest of the time she's stuck in the underworld. So yeah, Hades is just out there kidnapping people. Really uncool. In our number 1 spot today we have Lamashtu. Lamashtu is a demon, monster, malevolent goddess or demigoddess who comes from Mesopotamian mythology, and she certainly is terrible. Her name means she who erases, and this is because she would prey on women during childbirth and wait for them to be breastfeeding their new baby so she could kidnap the newborn and eat its flesh. I honestly don't know if it gets any darker than that. She was also known to disturb sleep and cause nightmares, as one of her less worse qualities is that she would also be be known to harm the environment, bound the muscle of men, and would bring sickness and disease. Mothers who were expecting children would wear an amulet that depicted her in order to protect their pregnancy from her. Sometimes people would even leave offerings to keep her appeased, which would always be small, feminine objects. There are some cultures where Lamashtu was regarded as a guardian, but I'm sure they didn't hear the whole eating babies thing, or else I feel like they might have changed their minds. Starting off this list, in our number 10 spot we have Bale. Bale is ranked as the first of the Ars Goetia, which I obviously had to look up because I had no idea what that was. If you're like me and aren't exactly up to date on your demonology, as explained by the demonicparadisefandom.com, quote, the Ars Goetia, also known as the 72 Pillars, is a group comprised of 72 demons with exemplary strength and their own legions. They are listed in the grimoire Lesser Key of Solomon. Okay, cool. That was easy to understand. So, Bale is the first on that, and he is the principal king of hell. It is said that he governs somewhere from 66 to 250 legions of demons and spirits, so he's clearly a workaholic. In grimoire tradition, it is said that Bale appears in the form of a man, a cat, a toad, or different combinations of those with the appearance of a king or a soldier, but with the heads of these creatures, and on a set of spider legs. So, I'm just saying, the guy's not easy to miss. I feel like that's pretty clear exactly who that is.
Number 9, the Smurl haunting. Jack and Janet Smurl sound like they should be like the leading couple of a comedy featuring Jennifer Aniston and Jason Sudeikis. But of course, wrong list. The plight of the couple attracted the attention of Ed and Lorraine Warren after a series of dark and ominous events struck, of course. In the 1970s, the family started experiencing shocking technical mishaps like their TV bursting into flames and toilets flushing by themselves. I know, do ghosts poop? Apparently. At first, they didn't think anything of it, but then the knocking started, in a peculiar pattern of 3 followed by terrible sudden odors, making the Smurls feel ill. The strange noises and smells were swiftly followed by sightings, and thus entered the Warrens. The Warrens discovered a presence of 3 separate demons, and despite 3 exorcisms, the family reported the return of the demons until finally they let go 15 years later. Number 8. The haunting in Connecticut. The mortuary turned home for the Snedeker family in Southington, Connecticut definitely created the perfect breeding grounds for a scary story, one that left even the Warrens uneasy in their skin. First off, moving into a mortuary? No thank you. In the 1980s, the Warrens took on the case of Carmen and Al Snedeker, who were being tormented by a series of restless spirits and demons. So in this case, it's not just one, but many that they feared. The family reported the smell of rotted flesh lingering in the house because, I don't know, it was a mortuary, and that the taps would turn red out of nowhere. The eldest son was plagued by visions of ghosts, and both Carmen and Al reported being sodomized by the ghosts. It's a very specific activity. Which led to the Warrens making the discovery that whoever the morticians were, their activities were not always professional, if you get my drift. I don't know what's worse, the demons themselves or like the people who used to live there. Ugh, can't handle that. This was one of their most confusing cases and remains under scrutiny to this day, but the Warrens knew whatever it was had to be exorcised. But the question is, was it really, or is it just hiding out until someone else comes along? Number 7, the Enfield haunting. I don't know what it is with the 70s, man. It just seems like so much weird stuff happened. We had serial killers. It's nuts. But it just seems like it's one of the strangest times in history, what with violent killers and violent hauntings. The Enfield haunting took place in Brimstown, England, and remains one of the more boggling cases the Warrens worked on. Peggy Hodgson and her family claimed to have seen furniture and toys being thrown and moved by unknown forces in their homes. They even claimed that violent voices were heard and that their children were levitating in the air. They caught the photo of the girls levitating when the investigators set up a wired control camera into the room, which periodically caught images throughout the night. Whatever it was, the Warrens knew there was a demonic entity within the house and immediately set to work. Number 6, the Perron family case. The Perron family lived in the old Arnold estate, which inspired the scariest film I have ever seen, personally, because if you've watched me on Central Dark, you know how low my tolerance is. But anyway, it's still awful. Yeah, you know it, you've heard of it. 8 generations of families lived and died in the old house and apparently never wanted to leave, or never could. When the Perron family moved in the 1970s, the advice they got was to leave the lights on always. Why didn't you leave then? I don't know. I don't know how that didn't send them running for the hills. The house had been rife with tragedy, but one of the 3 people who took their own lives was an alleged Satanist whose activity was responsible for the possession of the house. Her name was Bathsheba Sherman, who became a demon that Lorraine will never forget. The demon would physically attack the daughters of the Perron family, with one reportedly seeing a floating head screaming and retching at her. Ugh, I almost didn't say her name, but I did, so we'll see what happens to me now. Number 5, the Shadow Doll. The Shadow Doll is literally the doll of your nightmares. The Shadow Doll comes from unknown origins but was kept in the Warrens Museum for safekeeping. But what we do know was that it was used for satanic rituals, and that the thing is doused in black magic and contains human and animal bones. Whatever possesses this thing had the Warrens take it into their possession to ensure that it caused harm to no one else. Legend has it that if you take a picture of the doll, it will possess your nightmares. But it won't just be any nightmare. It will be the most terrifying you've ever experienced, and some have even suffered heart attacks from them. I know what you're thinking. Why didn't they just burn the thing? Well, what's more dangerous? A demon you can see right in front of you, or one for you to wander wherever it chooses? Honestly, I take the spider approach with this. If you see the spider, you know where the spider is, you're good. As soon as the spider disappears, burn your house down. Number 4, Valak. This one is a little controversial because was it just made up for the films? We don't know. Valak is a real demon mentioned in the Lesser Key of Solomon that was introduced into the Conjuring series of films. Though her direct involvement with Lorraine and Ed is under debate, Lorraine's belief in the demon was very strong. Valak is referred to as the Great President of Hell, and usually chooses to appear as a small winged, 2-headed creature thing resembling a child. Valak is said to command 30 legions of demons, and in the film became the leading arch nemesis of the Warrens. We'll mention Borley Church in a second, but Valak was portrayed as a nun. But there is some speculation that says that they may have actually encountered him throughout some of their worst cases. Lorraine often said that she encountered a black, shadowy vision of a dark entity whenever she wasn't working on a case, and believed that she was being followed by something she couldn't explain. Want to know more? Stay tuned until the end of the video and make sure to like and subscribe while we're here. Number 3, Borley Church relates to Valak. We'll talk about this in a second. The grim history of Borley Church is the perfect setting for a horror film. The land upon which it is built used to be the home to a 14th century monastery, where a monk fell in love with a nun at a nearby convent, which led to the monk being hanged, and the nun was bricked up alive within the walls of her convent, which sounds pretty friggin' extreme if you ask me. It sounds like evil resided there long before Ed and Lorraine made the trek out to sort out whatever demon lay between its walls. Whoever did that to those 2 poor people, ooh, that's awful. This case inspired the famous nun apparition, as I mentioned, as the youngest daughter of the family who settled there reported seeing her figure. She was also pushed and slapped hard enough to leave welts behind, and that was just in the 1800s. When Ed and Lorraine visited, they obtained photo evidence of the hauntings. Ed captured the image of a monk leafing through one of the books at the altar, and Lorraine experienced a black entity rush past her. Valak. She remembered feeling an overwhelming sense of evil. A picture revealed later showed that the shadow of a nun was rushing past her, so that's where the image came from. So was it Valak? We don't know. Number 2, the Annabelle doll. You knew. Probably the most famous of the hauntings conquered by the Warrens was the Annabelle doll. It would almost be a crime not to mention it. Dolls are already eerie with their black, piercing, beady eyes that look like there's nothing there. But in this case, the most terrifying part was the thing behind it. The case dates back to the 1970s when a Raggedy Ann doll was innocently purchased from an antique store for her daughter. Soon the doll began raising alarm when it would change positions in the house, boggling its owners. But when the notes started showing up saying help me and help Lou, then they came home to find it covered in blood, and they decided then that they needed to call a professional. The first medium they called in said it was just the spirit of a girl who passed away, but then the owner, Angie's boyfriend, was attacked. Enter the Warrens. They knew the doll was in fact a demon based on the marks of the beast and other encounters. They removed the doll and took it home, vowing not to take the highway, concerned that whatever was within the doll might cause an accident. Indeed, their brakes stalled or failed several times on their way home, putting their life in jeopardy several times. It wasn't until Ed doused the doll in holy water that the problem desisted. The couple was so concerned about the doll that Ed routinely said a prayer over the doll every single night. Alright, number 1, the Amityville horror case. The setting: Amityville, Long Island in 1975. A place rife with satanic manifestations set on driving whoever entered to violent madness. As soon as I even say Amityville, you know where this is going. One of the most famous Warren cases, this haunting continues to land on the conclusion that there are just some things that can't be explained. A year before the Lutzes moved into the suburban home in Long Island, Ronald DeFay Jr. shot and killed the 6 members of his family. So it's no wonder that during the first month of living there, the Lutzes experienced swarms of flies, loud banging noises, disturbing entities, and even levitations. The Lutzes moved out and left all their belongings behind, and George Lutz, the father, an ex-Marine and karate expert, so clearly a tough guy, wouldn't even meet the Warrens at the house. He met them at a Pizza Hut. He was that scared. The Warrens said that this case affected their personal relationship to each other the most out of any case they've worked on. This entity followed the Warrens home the very first day, and Lorraine described being incredibly fearful. There was something she just couldn't explain. To this day, Lorraine says that this is the case that haunts her the most, and said, and I quote, she hoped that this was as close to hell as she would ever get.
From fallen angels to dark gods to some entities that were created just to wreak havoc, we have got a dark, spooky one for you today as we cover the top 10 ancient demon entities you should never summon. In our number 9 spot today we have Amon. Amon is the great Marquis of Hell, and he is the 7th of the demons of the Ars Goetia, which thankfully we now know all about. It is said that he is in charge of governing 40 different legions of demons, but his favorite thing to do with humans is making them fall in love with each other. He is also known to settle debates, and you might be sitting there thinking that this guy actually sounds pretty cool and nice, but despite these cool nice things he enjoys, he is anything but nice. Just like he can make people fall in love, he can do the exact opposite as well. He can cause people to turn against each other and can even will someone to harm the innocent, which is terrifying. To make that thought slightly less horrifying, it is said he doesn't usually do this for no reason, and usually only does this when attacked or if someone is standing in his way of completing a mission. Still not good, but I suppose that's better than just random acts of violence. It is said that Amon appears as a wolf with a snake's tail, and that he possesses the ability to breathe fire. Or he will appear as a man with dog teeth who is inside of a raven. I don't know, ask him about that one, not me. In our number 8 spot today we have Asmodius. Asmodius is the king of demons and earthly spirits and is often referred to as one of the 7 princes of hell. He also represents one of the 7 deadly sins, lust. Before becoming a demon in his former life, he was an angel who was known as Asmodel, the angel of April and patience who rules the zodiac sign Taurus. But of course we are here to talk about his demon form, which is said to appear as either a ruthless, brutal monster or as a kind of mischievous demon that is playful and quick thinking. Honestly, I'm not sure which form would be worse to encounter. The monster would be scary, but a little annoying demon would be so frustrating. For the most terrifying exit I've ever heard of, it is said that Asmodius will cut himself into pieces and immediately after disappear. In our number 7 spot today we have Leviathan. Leviathan isn't fully a demon, but he is even a step above as he is a primordial beast of darkness and chaos, and he is one of the 7 princes of hell, as well as its gatekeeper. He also represents one of the deadly sins, envy. The entrance to hell is actually said to be Leviathan's mouth, known as the Hellmouth. The exact origins of Leviathan aren't exactly clear, but in the end it is agreed that he fell from God's grace and became the beast of the chaotic oceans that cannot be tamed by man or beast. So Leviathan is the beast of the oceans, Behemoth is the beast of the earth, and Ziz is the beast of the air. After the war in heaven, these 3 beasts all turned on each other and then threw all of what they govern and those who who live in it into absolute madness. This forced God to step in and separate these three beasts so that they didn't completely destroy the earth. It is said that if anyone tries to escape the inferno of hell, Leviathan will devour them and suck them inside of his stomach. Here they will remain forever to be burned in the flames of the body. In our number 6 spot today we have Mammon. Mammon is another one of those fallen angels turned demon and is often associated with the sin of greed. Because of this, Mammon is the noble demon lord of cupidity, richness, abundance, prosperity, wealth, and injustice. It is said that even during his time in heaven, he spent more time looking at the golden roads rather than God himself because he was already obsessed with gold and riches. Actually, it is reported that his obsession with the gold was so serious that his fall from heaven wasn't really because he was passionate about Lucifer's rebellion, he was just too focused on wealth, and this was enough for him to be cast out by Archangel Gabriel. It is said that Mammon is the creator of alchemy, and he is the one who bestowed the knowledge to humans of what alchemical compounds are needed to make gold. It is said that because he gave this top secret information out, it led to the creation of these sort of humanoid creatures that possess great power and strength, which indirectly makes him the creator of these creatures. In our number 5 spot today we have Azazel. Azazel is one of the chief governors of the Grigori, which is a group of fallen angels who married female mortals, which then produced the Nephilim, which were these scary giant creatures that ate mortals. In the beginning, Azazel started as an eater of sins, but the more sins he consumed, the hungrier he became, and this led to him not being satiated by the sins he was receiving. The reason he was cast from heaven is because he taught men how to make swords, knives, shields, and breastplates, which then led to humans being corrupted and thinking that they were invisible. It is said that the humans went so far that they were planning to raid heaven, and this is when God told Raphael to bind Azazel's hands and feet, open up a hole in the desert, and toss him in, casting him into darkness. This worked, and for a long time Azazel remained in prison. It was so bad that the jagged rocks near him tore his physical body away, and this left him as a mass of darkness covered in mouths and eyes. Later freed by Lucifer, he went on to join the demons in hell. In our number 4 spot today we have Beelzebub. Beelzebub is a former seraph who turned into a high-ranking demon. He is one of the princes of hell and also oversees the Order of the Fly. He, Satan, and Lucifer form the triarchy of hell, which makes him one of the supreme monarchs of the underworld. As a seraphim, he was under the Archangel Gabriel, but he was one of the very first angels to fall. He is often confused with Satan, and while the two names can technically be interchanged, they are two separate entities, and in some writings they even disagree at times. Beelzebub is associated with pride and gluttony, and he has also been held responsible for demonic possessions throughout the years. Unfortunately, flies are a very important thing for him, as it is said that he can take the form of them. Now his main job is to rule over the fallen angels as well as all of the demons that are originally from hell. In our number 3 spot today we have Paymon. Paymon is the 9th pillar of the Ars Goetia, and he is a king of hell that is most obedient to Lucifer. He is normally depicted as a strong man with a face that has softer features. He wears a crown, and he is seen riding a dromedary, which is a type of one-humped camel, usually trained for riding or races. Before him there is often a whole group of demons and ghouls who are in the shape of mortal men, playing instruments like trumpets and cymbals, which is of course meant to give Paymon a grand entrance to wherever he is on the way to. He is manipulative, malicious, and honestly pretty hostile. He inflicts psychological, physical, and spiritual torment, and will even go as far as to recreate traumatic events or just give terrifying visions and nightmares. His voice is so loud and roaring that whoever invokes him has to command him to alter his speech, or else he'll continue speaking at an ear-splitting volume, and he won't be able to be heard or understood. If he's not causing you torment, it is said that he can tell you all of the mysteries of the earth though. I'm still not convinced it's worth the risk, however. In our number 2 spot today we have Belial. Belial is the 68th spirit in the Goetia, and he is one of the crowned princes of hell, but he is also known as Hell's brightest fire, Evil's match, and the king of evil, so I think it's safe to say that he's pretty terrifying. He is mighty and powerful, and this is likely due to the fact that he was created right after Lucifer, which is of course part of the reason why Belial belongs to his order. Belial was once an angel, but after his fall from grace he became a demon of lies and guilt, and he possesses the ability to induce any type of sin, but his favorite is the sin of lust. Belial is so evil that it's said he started a civil war in hell. While still an angel just before his fall, in the War of Heaven, Belial slayed numerous angels, and as a demon, just in general, he would slay huge demonic armies that attempted to make any moves against him or any of the other 7 great kings. In our number 1 spot today we have Belfagor. Belfagor is a fallen angel, and after his fall from heaven, he has now become the demon lord presiding over the sin of sloth. It is said that as Belfagor served as a lieutenant from hell, he was sent to Earth on a mission by Satan. While he was on Earth, he grew quite fond of Paris, France, and it is said that because of this affinity, he now lurks deep within the catacombs under the city. Belfagor can be invoked by mortals who are wishing to find fame and wealth, usually through as little effort as possible. But these wishes are of course doomed to fail because of the demon's true mission to lure the dreamers into sloth. Through the failure of whatever was provided to the dreamer by Belfagor, he then draws them into procrastination and idle dreaming rather than active production, which then condemns them to a life of failure. Belfagor is also recognized as one of the 7 great kings who rule over hell.